Before the jury comes in, I know the defense is having a little hard time hearing some of the answers. If you all will just like kind of wave at me when it's a problem, I'll ask them to speak up.
Yes, ma'am.
And I'll solve that problem, and y'all don't have to, be the bad guy or whatever. All right, let's bring the jury in.
All right, for the jury. Be seated, please. Please be seated.
Let's resume the examination.
Good morning. I appreciate you. I appreciate you speaking up. We could hear you a little bit better this morning than yesterday. We were having some difficulty hearing, so I appreciate that. I want to follow up on a couple of things that Mr. Goring asked you about. You indicated you had an uncle in prison for 20 years. What I did not get was whether he had a 20-year sentence or whether he had been in prison for 20 years.
He's been in for about 20 years, but I think he had a life sentence. And
Okay.
he's been trying to parole it, but it hasn't been working out.
All right, and so you would have obviously been a baby when all this went down, so you don't have any firsthand knowledge of it. Just family lore or things that you have heard over the years.
I used to visit him on a regular basis with my grandparents.
Okay.
So we would go to Waycross or Manhunt or wherever it was he was at the time. He's been moving around a lot.
Okay. Do you know where he is now?
Right now he's in Alamo, Georgia. He's in a low security prison.
Okay.
Because he's elderly now, and he does a lot of work. He works with the inmates on a religious base. And he's the head of the recreational part of there. He runs the gym and teaches basketball and all that stuff.
Okay.
He also used to train police dogs. He would raise them and train them and then turn them over to the police force.
Okay. So when is the last time that you would have visited?
I just visited him for the first time about 2 weeks ago, for the first time in 2 years.
You doing okay? And yeah, 20 years is a long time. But you indicated that what you had heard was there was something about the victim in the case apparently allegedly had some sort of connections to the court system that had some kind of impact on the outcome.
Yes.
Okay. And this is just something you've been told.
Yes, sir.
Okay.
I mean, I do know that like her father was a DA and her brother was a public defender and stuff like that. I know that the evidence that they brought forth, the evidence was dismissed, so it was mainly just her word against his.
Okay. And does he even talk about, after all these years, does he even talk about the case anymore?
He is still trying to find ways out. He didn't have money for a lawyer when it happened, so he really didn't have a whole lot of help with it.
Okay. So he still maintains his innocence then? All right. Thank you. All right. I also wanted to follow up. You said something about a false report involving your sister, and what I didn't understand was this a false report that somebody made against your sister, or she made a false report?
Somebody made against her.
Okay. Is this something that was recent?
Oh, no, sir. It was maybe 10, 12 years ago.
Okay. But you were old enough to remember when it went down?
Yes, sir.
And did she know who made this false report?
They did.
Okay. Was it someone that she knew or a family member?
The woman who did it was married to my sister's husband's brother. So they were married to brothers, and she's the one who did it.
So it was like her sister-in-law.
Yeah.
Okay. Was there some reason why she would have done such a thing?
I think she did it to a few people. Because I believe she had her children taken from her around that time, and I think she was just trying to get justice for it.
Okay. Okay. All right. And you got quite a story about your neighbor. How old were you when this neighbor tried to date you or whatever, and then had the hit list?
I was 16, I believe, when that happened. And it was just a childhood friend. We grew up together. I mean, I think we used to run around in diapers together. But as he got older, he was from, he had a really rough family life. And he had, I think, a chemical imbalance. If, like, say, if we were playing around too rough and he got hit in the head, he could go into a seizure. And all of a sudden, one day, he just kind of had a breakdown. He started talking about killing himself and killing other people, and I could see him standing in the bushes in front of my house. It was really weird.
Okay. So when you got called in to make a statement, you just got called in to talk to the police or to talk to the prosecutor?
We went to court. We actually had to, we got subpoenaed to court, and we had to go in and make statements on the witness stand.
Okay. You had to go up there and raise your hands. Okay. Was there a jury that was hearing the evidence, or was it just a judge?
I believe it was just a judge and just some of the parents of other children that were involved.
Okay.
And we each had to come forth and say, like, I had to tell them I saw him in my yard, or I heard him at my window. Other children had to say that they had received text messages, threats from him, and, bring forth evidence like that.
Was there one person asking you questions, or were there two?
I believe there were 2 officers in there at the time asking questions.
Okay. So in that situation, there wasn't anyone cross-examining you. Nobody was up there asking you questions from one side and then the other side.
No.
Okay. You told us that you had 2 brothers that had either were in prison or had been in prison for burglary.
Mm-hmm.
And was that one of the brothers that stole your laptop?
That was my brother. Yes, he stole my laptop. He also broke into my grandparents' house a few things and stole old guns being passed down and old coins being passed down through the family.
Okay. And was that to get money for drugs?
Yes, sir.
All right.
Probably pawned off or sold to a drug dealer.
Okay. And did you end up having to make a statement to police or come to court or anything on that matter?
Not for any of that, because those were situations where we couldn't prove that he was the one that was there. All we did was file a report.
Okay. And you are 23? All right. You've indicated, though, you've had quite a bit of work history already, so you started working pretty much right out of high school then?
Yes.
Okay. Harley store, surf shop, worked on the boat. What was your favorite job out of all those?
The surf shop.
Okay. And you still help out there?
I worked there last year. I started working there last year, but I had to stop in October.
Okay. And did that have anything to do with your child?
It was medical reasons. I had a miscarriage, and I wasn't able to work for a while, so I just never went back.
All right. And so currently then you're the primary caregiver for your 2-year-old.
Yes, sir.
All right. So where is she while you're in court today?
She is with my friend who lives 2 blocks over that way. My friend has actually had to call out of work today and yesterday because she didn't have a babysitter, so she ended up taking my daughter for me.
Okay. Now, if you've got a little bit advance notice, a week or more advance notice, whether or not you were going to be on the jury, do you think you would be able to make arrangements for child care?
Yes, sir.
All right. The story regarding someone running over a child in the driveway, I didn't really get sort of the context of that. Was this a family that you knew personally?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Was it your family?
No, sir. They were, it was a family that lived at the end of my road. I knew a boy in the household from school and stuff. My sister went to school with my brother, so we all kind of knew them.
And how old were you when this tragedy happened?
I think I was maybe 14 or 15. It was when I was in high school.
Had you ever, how old was the child who was run over?
He was about 2 years old.
All right. And had you ever babysat for that child?
I had met him on several occasions, but I never watched him.
And was it one of the parents?
It was the little boy's uncle.
Okay. You weren't there when it happened. Your understanding is that the child simply had walked out of the house and was in the driveway, and the uncle backed out. He didn't know the child was in the driveway at the time. Okay. Do you know? Do you know what ended up happening? Did anything happen as a result of this?
I don't think so.
Okay.
I don't think any charges were pressed on him for it. I think it was just ruled as an accident.
Okay. All right, just a couple of other things I'm going to follow up on. Okay, you too had indicated that you had heard, aside from any stories about children, you had heard PSAs or public safety announcements warning against not forgetting your animals in a car or leaving an animal in a car. Do you remember that?
Yes, sir.
Tell me what you've heard and when that was.
Over this past summer, I heard it over the radio quite a few times. And I saw posts on Facebook about it.
Do you remember what group or organization it was that posted it?
I'm not sure. I think it was just from a link somebody had copied from a news site.
Okay. You think it was on Facebook, though? And was it a story or a video or a blog or an article or what?
Mainly just an article, just, a short little clip describing an incident that had happened and people thinking the owners of the dog should be prosecuted one way or another for situations like that.
Right. When you say clip, you mean like a video clip?
No. Just like a little short story.
Okay. All right. So that would have been, you said this past summer, so that would have been recently within the last couple of months?
Yes, sir.
All right. And is that the only thing that you meant when you answered that question?
I've heard of other situations where children were forgotten in cars for different looked into them, but I have heard of it happening in other places.
Okay. I think, and we may follow up with that in a minute, but and I appreciate you bringing that to my attention. We'll ask you about that, but I wanted to ask you now specifically about public service announcements regarding animals.
Just on the radio and on Facebook.
So in addition to what you just told me on Facebook, you also heard something on the radio?
Yes, sir.
Okay. And do you remember what group or agency it was that was doing this public service announcement?
I think it came through over our local rock station, 107.7, I believe.
Okay. And do you remember the sort of the context of it? Was it just reminding people not to leave their animals in a car?
Simply saying, it's 98 degrees outside, folks. Please don't forget not to leave your dogs out in your vehicles.
Okay. All right, and you indicated your child falls asleep in her car seat easily?
Yes, sir.
She's 2 now. Has she always been that way when you put her in? Okay. There's a commercial for a van or a car of some sort where the husband takes the child out and puts the child in the car to sort of drive around to get the child to go to sleep. Y'all ever do that? If she was fussy, did you ever put her in a car just to basically so she'd go to sleep in the car seat?
I didn't because I never wanted to risk waking her up to get her out of the car again.
Good point. Good point. But nonetheless, for her, oftentimes the car seat means going right to sleep. Okay. Okay. All right, Ms. P. I think for right now that's all that I need to ask you about. Thank you, though.
Good morning, Juror 8. Okay, so starting off kind of with your employment and background, you are a teacher. English, is it 11th and 12th grade?
Yes, sir.
Okay, how long have you worked in that field?
Since I graduated college, so this is my second year teaching.
Okay. Where'd you go to college?
University of Georgia.
Okay. And I assume your education was in the education field?
Yes, I have a bachelor's in English education.
Okay. Now, you stated that you know somebody in the court system?
Yes, not local. I'm from Milledgeville, so I know judges and lawyers in all the county circuit from family relationships, church, things like that. Okay.
Any particularly close relationships with prosecutors or defense attorneys or anything like that?
Not other than just family friends from church and things like that.
Okay. I believe you stated that you have somebody that you know in the background with military background.
Yes, I attended a private military school from 6th through 12th grade, so a lot of teachers, former military instructors, things like that, grandparents in the military, and things like that.
Okay. I believe you stated that you or somebody you know has had some legal training or some kind of experience in the legal fields, what you've already talked about, or something different?
If that was the question regarding criminal justice background, would that have fallen under
Let's go ahead and talk about it then, since you're talking about it.
My mother has undergraduate degrees in criminal justice and psychology, so this will probably go into some of your future questions.
Yes.
She worked in forensic services and was a behavior therapist at Central State Hospital.
Okay. I take it you never had any interest in pursuing that path?
No, but I heard a lot about it.
Okay. You also know people involved in the medical field?
Yes, my sister-in-law is a registered nurse. My paternal grandmother is a retired pediatrician.
And I know I asked you about psychology and psychiatry and things like that. Was that your mom?
Yes.
Okay. All right, now I did use the term criminology, but we've covered that, correct? Okay, I believe we asked about DFACs and social services and things of that nature.
Just family, friends, because my mom worked in the state. She had a lot of friends that also worked for DFACs. No family members, but just family friends that work for DFACs, but also individual.
Okay. As far as licenses, you have a license, I guess, to be a teacher.
Teacher certification, yes.
Okay. All right. And you spoke about a church a little bit earlier. You attend church here?
I do St. Mark's Episcopal.
Okay. And I believe you said that you're involved in some fraternal community service organization, something like that?
Yes. You mentioned Kiwanis. I'm the high school sponsor for Key Club, which is their offshoot for high schoolers. So in case that counts, I oversee that.
Well, thank you. I think we wanted more answers than less, so I'm sure y'all probably disagree, wish it was less at this point. But you utilize cell phone applications other than texting to communicate. So what do you use?
For messaging, Facebook Messenger, but for social media, I have Twitter, Instagram, Snapchat.
Okay. All right. And Craigslist, what have you used Craigslist for?
Buying furniture in college.
All right.
I've never sold anything.
Okay. And do you use YouTube?
Only for educational purposes, looking up TED Talks or informational things to show my students.
Learning how to do things?
Occasionally.
And helping students learn how to do things?
Well, more for me, like I have to take off the cell-phone case and things like that.
Yeah. Okay. Now, you're familiar with Whisper. What do you know about Whisper?
I read it in college. It was one of those things like Whisper, if it's what I'm thinking of, where people anonymously post thoughts. It was sort of like Yik Yak, which was a big deal when I was at PGA for various reasons. I never had it or used it, but I've heard of it.
Okay. And I believe you stated that you've actually, a lot of people have, especially younger people, have actually messaged people that you don't know or strangers or communicated via social media before.
Well, and I didn't know that it necessarily pertained to social media. Only on social media, like buying and selling of things.
Okay.
Especially like football tickets, things like that. I was more thinking I'm currently enrolled in online graduate studies, and we have to do a lot of communicating with classmates, but it's via an education portal.
Okay. So it's nothing like you're just online in some forum like, hey, what's going on, dude? Okay. All right. You given an online opinion before?
Through like Facebook and stuff.
Okay. Just agreeing or disagreeing with something posted?
Yeah.
Okay. You have you've watched legal TV shows, fiction and nonfiction. Tell me about those.
For fiction, SVU, How to Get Away with Murder, Scandal, things like that on ABC that pertain to the legal field and court cases. For the nonfiction, I watched The People vs. OJ, any 30 for 30 Sports Center series that followed like athlete things like that, like the Duke Cross and stuff like that.
Okay. Okay, and then the docudrama kind of podcast type thing.
I saw most of Making a Murderer. I'm trying to think if there were any others that fall into that category. I don't think so.
Came with that. Most of it, did you tune out at some point?
I lost interest, yes.
Okay. Did you ever go to any like sites or research any forums about, I guess, what they were portraying or how they were portraying it or anything?
I did see some stuff regarding how true it was and some background info on some of the lawyers, just that other friends I had that were watching it would share. But once I lost interest with the documentary, I kind of quit following it.
Okay. Now, you have at least followed a real trial in the news or in some form or manner. Tell me about that.
Through the news, I've never actually gone and witnessed one in person. I kept up with Jody Arias, Casey Anthony, and the George Zimmerman and Trayvon Martin case a few years back.
Okay. You also say you've known somebody who's been arrested for a crime before.
Yes, my older brother was arrested misdemeanor marijuana possession when he was a minor years ago.
Okay.
That's it.
Now, you have volunteered with kids before?
Yes, I have a certification in teaching English to speakers of other languages. So in college, I did a lot of tutoring with non-native speakers and things like that, volunteering at a lot of the middle schools in Clark County.
Okay. And you've actually had to report something to the police before?
Yes, my house in Athens, my senior year of college, was part of a string of robberies over Christmas break. So I had to report that to the police. And I also think I had to make a police report when I backed into someone.
Okay. Like another car, you backed into them? Okay. With the break-ins, was anybody home when that happened, or was it just y'all at the house was vacant?
Days.
Okay.
Going back to school really fun.
Oh, wow. You have family in Cobb County?
Well, I have since learned Alpharetta and Roswell are not Cobb County. So.
Well, there is a small portion of Roswell that is actually Cobb County, so maybe you're right.
Okay, so then I guess it could.
There's a chance.
There's a chance.
Okay. But the areas that we've talked about, no familiarity.
No familiarity.
You say you've known somebody who's done online dating or something like that?
I have friends that have like Match.com profiles or something
Yeah.
like that, but
Okay.
I don't take sense in all of it.
All right. I believe you stated that you've transported somebody to daycare before, transported a child?
Yes, I have 2 younger nephews, and so when I would be home from college in the summers, sometimes I would help out, pick them up from daycare, bring them home, things like that.
And was that something that you did regularly, or just something kind of you do it when you had to?
Radically, yes.
And in that vein, you said not doing it that often. Were there steps that you would take? I think you said you're familiar with affirmative steps to not forget a child, something like that.
I've heard of people mindfully leaving like a pocketbook or something in the back seat just so that there's no chance
Right.
that they don't take a final look back. I never took those steps just because I transported them so frequently.
Okay. All right. And just finally for now, I think you stated that you or somebody you know has experienced the sudden death of a child.
Yes, my brother's best friend lost his son 2 summers ago, and about 3 years old, he drowned in a swimming pool.
Okay. I'm sorry to hear that. All right. I believe that's all I have at this time. Thank you.
Hey, good morning. That's an awful story. Did you know your brother's best friend?
Yes, he's in his wedding, grew up around him, but they're not really related.
Okay. And you said this was last summer?
2 summers ago.
2 summers ago. Okay. And where did that happen?
Military.
All right. And was anybody charged criminally, do you know? No. I want to follow up on a couple of other things. You told us that your mother worked at Central State in Forensic Services.
Yes, sir.
Okay. We've got some familiarity with the system. So, what exactly did she do in Forensic Services?
I know that she worked in the Binion building at Central State, so she had various roles. She's retired now. She was a team leader, behavior therapist, did things like that. Might have had some work with interventions. All I really know is that she worked with chameleons. I mean, she was limited in what she was allowed to divulge.
Okay. Was she you're using the term behavioral therapist, so was she a PhD psychologist?
No, she's not.
Was she a psychologist?
No.
Just a licensed therapist?
I guess. They call her a behavior therapist. I don't know.
Okay.
I know that she does not have a PhD in psychology. She's not a licensed psychiatrist or anything of that nature.
Okay. And So she spent her entire career at Central State, or was she at other locations?
I believe she always worked for the state. I think she might have taken a few years and worked in the prison, but always for the state, and mostly majority, yes, in forensic services. It's supposed to be.
Okay. Would you have any reason to know whether or not she was ever called to testify?
Off the top of my head, I don't know, but I would not be surprised if she had to.
Okay.
Maybe on the competency of certain individuals.
In your understanding, you say she worked with the criminally insane. You believe she was working then with people who had been, by a judge or a jury, somebody had declared an individual insane or not criminally responsible?
Correct, for whatever crime they committed.
Okay. You did not follow her career path, but did you ever try to ask her about her work? And
she's very open with her opinions about things. I mean, she would, she was always had Nancy Grace on. She would make commentary about stuff. She would explain to me things in the legal system when I would be following cases like Jodi Arias or things like that, because she had more extensive knowledge than I did. But other than that, I never showed an over interest in that field.
Okay. Did you believe that she enjoyed what she did?
She found it very interesting, yes. Definitely.
Okay. All right. All right. The Making of a Murderer. You indicated you watched part of that. Do you know how much of it you watched?
I would say 3/4, but what I remember is very limited because you had to really pay attention to know what was going on.
Right.
I was not.
So you watched maybe 5 or 6 episodes?
5, 6, 7, I think maybe up to 10. Yes.
Okay. And for whatever reason, it didn't interest you? You had other friends who were watching it at the same time, though, you said?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Were they kind of filling you in on the stuff that you didn't watch?
Sort of. They were the reason I got into it in the first place because, they were all talking about it and you want to check in and see if you can get interested as well. But, we would have conversations about it when I was still watching, and then, it was, the entire show was kind of a fad that passed.
Right. And, of course, it's one of those, because it's about a real case. You can follow up, or you could follow up.
Correct.
Look on the internet, find out who the people were, who the players were, who the police officers were. Sort of double check the accuracy. You indicated you had some knowledge after the fact that came to you, but did you ever affirmatively go and look anything up?
I don't think I ever started my own Google search for it, but I did click on articles, whether they were sent to me or I saw on Facebook regarding maybe the people who decided to investigate this and make a series, or the people who were part of the original prosecution team, things like that. But I don't think I actively ever searched out for this information.
Okay. Did you ever, in this information that you learned after the fact, did you come to the conclusion that perhaps only a portion of the information was disclosed, or a portion of the story was told?
At times it was kind of hard to discern whether or not what happened was true or if everything was disclosed. But again, it's been 8 months since I even paid any attention to it. I don't recall off the top of my head the specifics.
Okay. And in watching that, do you recall at any time that it caused you to have maybe change your thoughts or mindset about law enforcement?
Yeah.
Okay. You've got some familiarity with Whisper, you said, from college, and you're not much out of college, right? So it's something kind of recent, then. You're familiar with that app.
I heard of it, yes.
But you didn't download it.
No.
Okay. But you compared it to Yik Yak.
It was, I just lumped it in on some social media that was talked about when I was in college, but I don't know if they're actually that similar. I know that you can post anonymously on both, is all I really know.
In the social media apps that you typically use, then you indicated Instagram
Yes.
and Facebook.
Yes.
How often a day do you check Instagram or Facebook?
2 or 3 times a day.
All right. And of course, you've heard what we've asked other jurors. Do you, when you check it, do you kind of just scroll through to see if there's an image you want to stop and look at, or scroll through to see if there's an article or a post that you want to save or comment on, or?
My interactions are limited. I probably like more than I comment. I don't engage in philosophical or political conversations. If I comment, it's probably on a personal photo of someone's family or something like that, or they have something to do with sports.
All right. You're a little more of a fly-by receiver of the information than posting your own opinions.
Yeah, I don't post that much. I may occasionally share stuff, but it typically has to do with sports.
Okay. Do you have friends that share the entirety of their lives on either Instagram or Facebook? Every little thing, and comment on every little thing.
Yes.
Okay. That's not you.
No, sir.
Do you ever hit the link if somebody posts a link to an article? Do you ever hit that link to go to the original source and read the article?
If it's of interest to me, yes.
Would that be something you do a couple times a week, maybe?
Sure.
Okay. Are there any regular sites that you go to, like your favorites, websites that you go to that you look in on or read every day or every night? For instance, my wife, every night she goes to people.com and reads whatever's on that site. Is there a favorite of yours?
I don't actually go to that many sites specifically. I'll follow their Twitter accounts or something, and if I see the initial blurb and I'm interested, I'll click on the link. So I guess if that counts, of those Huffington Post, BuzzFeed, anything like that. That's also how I get local news and stuff like that, is by following whatever Twitter or Facebook account. If it's a story I'm interested in, I'll click on it.
Okay, thank you. All right. Okay. A couple little questions we'll follow up with you to clear up in private, but you indicated that you were familiar with public service announcements such as Governor's Office Look Again campaign, reminding people to double check their cars for children. Is that the one you're familiar with, or are there others?
To be honest, since I don't have children, I don't pay that much attention to them. I'm sure that I've been exposed. I worked in a daycare in Athens in 2014, and so I'm sure that there are posters and things like that in that daycare. I've heard things on the radio and on TV, but regarding specific campaigns, I have no idea.
Do you recall any specific posters or things that y'all put up in the daycare?
No, not specific.
Do you remember specifically what you would have heard on the radio or when you would have heard it?
Similar to what other jurors mentioned about just comments, it's hot outside, it's summer, and, how warm it gets down here. They make comments on the radio about, ensuring that you're being mindful, things like that, but other than that, I don't recall.
Okay. Mindful of not leaving or forgetting your child in the car. Okay. What about these websites? You indicated that you had, I believe, some familiarity with some of these sites, such as kidsandcars.org or noheatstroke.org.
Probably just the same thing, seeing kind of being overly careful that I raise my hand, but I'm sure I haven't exposed to them from working in a daycare, but regarding the specific organization.
It's not something you follow.
No, sir.
All right. You indicated that when I asked you and Mr. Boring followed up that you knew someone who took affirmative steps to remind themselves that there's a child in the back seat of the car. And what you told Mr. Boring was you heard of people who left their pocketbook in the back of the
Yes,
car.
sir.
Who was that person?
Mothers at the daycare I worked out would discuss it.
Okay. And you just overheard them talking about, hey, this is what I do. Is that fair to say?
Sure.
Okay. You did raise your hand if you had heard, aside from any stories about children, you had heard public service announcements or stories about reminders not to leave animals in cars.
Yes, sir.
Is there something specifically that sticks out in your mind or that you recall?
I can remember up in Athens and Atlanta radio stations, a lot of times, they'll go to PetSmart and places like that on Saturday mornings if they're having adoption events, and they'll, discuss what animals they have, and I've heard them through those mornings talk about, by the way, it's summer, it's hot, things
Right.
like that.
Okay, so you haven't actually seen anything posted on Facebook or Twitter? Or anything?
I might have seen people share stuff like that on Facebook. I've never posted or anything that sticks out specifically, but I can't necessarily say for certain. I never saw it.
All right. Y'all are probably getting to the point where you want to start asking the lawyers some questions. I understand that, but believe me, there is a method to this madness, and well, hang in there with us, please. All right. I think we've covered everything I need to get with you this morning. Thank you.
All right, Juror 9. Okay. Let's see. You're currently not working, correct?
Yeah, it's kind of hard to say.
Ish.
I have left one job, put in my notice, and have a sports store opening.
Okay, is that Academy?
I have done the training, so yes.
Okay, so you're going to go work at Academy Sports?
Right now I'm not making paychecks. So
Okay. And where did you work right before that?
that's smart.
Okay. All right. So y'all going to have better prices than Dick's Sporting Goods? Okay. Yeah, some people were talking about that earlier when we were trying to figure out places to go to get things when we were coming down here, and they're like, well, if you need some stuff like that, outdoor gear, things like that, there's a academy opening up. So, and when's that? Okay. Now your husband works. He's in irrigation. Okay, and how long's he worked in that field? Forever.
Yeah, about 15, 20.
Okay. So as long as you've known him, he's worked in that field? Okay.
It was probably 2-3 years after.
Okay. And what did he do before that?
Fast food,
Okay.
restaurants.
Mm-hmm. All right. You got 3 children, 9, and then 15 and 16. So you got your hands full. Okay. Now, let's see. You stated that you've had somebody in your family or somebody close to you that's been in the military?
My father-in-law is retired Air Force, and my nephew is active Air Force.
Okay. You also said that you know somebody has familiarity with computer programming or the IT field?
And my brother-in-law works in the ITC market.
Okay, we asked you about whether you attended any churches or belonged to any churches or synagogues. Tell me about that.
Family Life Church, we've been attending since 2009.
Okay, family life?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
That's right over there by the pumpkin patch, just discussed yesterday.
Yeah.
And I spent 3 of 3 of the years I was attending there as a toddler, and you had to be in between potty training and walking, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
So I volunteered in there for the nursery.
Okay. Okay, you also communicate on a cell phone via an application other than just texting. Tell me about that. What do you use?
Facebook Messenger. Most of my family's all in North, so
Okay. So that's a good way to stay in contact with people that live out of state and things of that
out
nature.
of the country.
Okay. Now, on some of those apps we talked about, obviously most people are familiar with Facebook, things like that. You're familiar with Craigslist. And how are you familiar with that?
My son's phone access.
Okay, as far as Twitter, are you somebody, do you post a lot on Twitter? Do you just read stuff people put on there? Or do you even use it?
I have an account now. I have it. Actually, my MySpace is still out there. So
Your MySpace? Okay. All right. Okay. And you're familiar with Kick?
only because my daughter uses it.
Okay. And which one of your children is your daughter? I'm sorry, the 16, 15, or 9? Both of those, 16 and 15. Okay.
17 months.
I believe you stated that you have talked with somebody or communicated over the internet or a social media site with somebody you've never met before. Kind of in what context with you?
That would be buying, like for instance, my daughter's on her dress, my son's bike on Craigslist. So.
Okay. Okay. I think you posted online opinions before.
Well, yeah, I did on September 11th was the last one.
Okay. Is that something that you post on Facebook or another site? Okay. And was this just to post something about remembering what had happened? And okay. You also watch legal TV shows, fiction and nonfiction, or you have before. Tell me, just how much are you into it and what do you watch?
I don't get much to.
Yeah, I would imagine you're pretty busy, so.
And then my husband has it, but he watches a lot of the SVU, the NCIS.
Okay.
You know, I can't say that I sit with him and watch it, but it's on.
Mm-hmm.
So
Okay.
I'm very familiar with it.
Okay. And do you ever watch any of the other stuff like the talking head shows or, any of that stuff? Okay, I believe you stated that you've watched one of the docudramas or a podcast or something regarding.
The document, the court case of OJ.
Okay. And you've actually had some interest and followed either in the news or something like that, an actual real case that was going on at the time?
Yeah, a couple of local ones. Casey Anthony one, the Christopher Barrios.
Mm-hmm.
There was one a couple of years ago with a toddler, an Elkins case.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Because in this area, this kind of stuff happens.
Right. Okay. Okay, like I asked Juror 7, anything about following those cases that would in any way affect your ability to be fair to both sides? I believe you stated that you've had the opportunity at some point to actually care for somebody that's either disabled or sick or something like that.
I worked in a nursing home, this local one, the Benton House without women.
Okay. I guess I should ask as well, other than in working with Academy and from your previous employer, have you ever done any other type of work like outside in like some really different field?
Doing retail, hotel housekeeping, and more.
Okay.
But a majority of it was the nursing home.
Okay. You stated you transported kids to daycare before.
That was very little, only because when my youngest is 9 now, there was just a small stint of me working when they were in the car seats.
Okay.
I was hotel housekeeping, and so me and my husband would both transport. Well, one would be in school at that time, and the other one was like a year younger than her.
Okay.
So of course there was 2 in the cars and the back seat. But that was just very little, but it was both of us transporting.
Okay. So y'all would take turns doing it? Oh, at the same time?
He would drop me off and he'd go.
I got you. Okay.
But it wasn't a daycare. I had like my mother-in-law watching.
Yeah.
So,
It's good to have family nearby, isn't it? Well, I guess it can be a double-edged sword. You know what? We're going to stop that line of questioning. All right. All right. You said that you volunteered with kids before. Is that with your own kids, different things? What's that? No, I meant, okay. Let me stop that. Have you ever done with coaching, Girl Scouts, Boy Scouts, any of that stuff? Or tell me what you were talking about when you said you volunteer with kids.
I ran the nursery for about 3 years.
Okay. All right. Okay. You stated you filed or had to do a report to the police before. Give them a statement. Tell me about that.
This was probably 2 years ago.
Mm-hmm.
On our road, there's a strip of burglaries. There's people breaking into cars, stealing change out of it. And this was a Monday morning.
Mm-hmm.
And I was working at PetSmart, so I had to get back up at 7 to report to work.
Mm-hmm.
Our car actually was one that was hit. The lights were left on.
Oh, man.
They did nothing about it.
Mm-hmm.
And that really scared us when the cops were banging on the door at 4 o'clock in the morning.
Wow.
And they ended up breaking into a house down the road to, I guess, first phone.
Mm-hmm.
But
Do you know if they ever apprehended the suspect or anything? All right. You talked about you're familiar with a child falling asleep in a car seat. Okay. Just like your kids growing up. Okay. All right. Okay. You said that you've known somebody who's been arrested for a crime, something like that. Okay. Tell me a little about that, if that's okay.
my husband actually, a couple of years ago, probably about back in 2009.
Okay.
It was an FBA.
An FEA?
FBA.
Oh, okay. All right. And sorry, is it okay just asking you a couple of questions, or would you prefer to talk about it in private? Private? Okay. All right. I believe you stated that you were asked about whether you've experienced some, and I know it's a very general question. Several people were asking, what are you talking about? It was a question Mr. Kilgore asked about unexpected trauma. Have you ever experienced that? I think you raised your hand on that. What were you talking about?
Well, just this year long, my mother-in-law, she died instantly of chest stroke.
Mm-hmm.
No, I'm sorry, she was April, my best friend, for almost 30 years, died January. Cancer.
Oh, wow. I'm sorry to hear that. Were you present when these things happened, any of these, or you just you got the bad news and... Okay.
But with the mother-in-law, yeah, I was so sorry.
Okay. And was this something with your mother-in-law? Had she been sick a while? It was just like all of a sudden...
She'd been unhealthy for the last couple of years.
Okay.
But once she had the stroke,
Mm-hmm.
I was planning to leave her.
Yeah.
It was 2 days.
Okay. Well, I'm sorry to hear that, but I guess the good news is that's all the questions I have for right now for you, so thank you very much. Good morning.
Just real quick to follow up on Facebook. You said you post something on 9/11. How often do you use or check Facebook?
I use it daily, just kind of scrolling it constantly.
Just scrolling through.
And every once in a while, I'll put like your 9/11.
Okay.
What were you doing on this day? Or had you remember it? But as far as posting,
Not a lot of posting. What about responding to posts or pictures that other people have put on there?
not if it's just, like those pictures that are not actual that they have, like if it's ads or right now the wrong thing.
Like
but usually
cartoons?
somebody posts something about a family or it's somebody I know, like pictures,
Right. Well, do you ever like, just hit like rather than making a comment?
A lot of times I comment, they're so cute, getting so big, something.
Okay. A couple times a day.
I look at it a couple times a week.
All right. And what about Instagram?
I have an Instagram, but I probably look at it once every couple of months.
So that's very infrequently. Okay. And are you the kind of person that has to keep up and have the latest phone, or is a phone? You use it for making calls and texts?
Yeah, I mean, I don't have the latest, but I do have a smartphone.
Okay. Let's see. You responded that you kept up with some of these cases. You watched the OJ, and I'm assuming what you mean by that is that you watched the TV series drama.
No, the actual court.
Okay, you talking about the trial 20 years ago? Yeah. All right. Is that the only trial you watched on TV?
I watched bits and pieces of it.
Casey Anthony, and you said Elkins case, and that was a local case?
That hasn't been a trial yet. That was a situation here.
Okay. Okay.
But it hasn't, I haven't even heard of it.
Okay. That's just a local case that you're aware of or familiar with that may be in the newspaper or whatnot? All right. And the same thing, you said the Christopher Barrios case, which we've heard about this morning. That's something that you either watched or followed or read about? Followed? Is that case over?
No, I don't think they even still went to trial.
Okay. So that's something that's pending. When there's an article in the paper about it, do you read the article? Okay. And same with the Elkins case? All right. So it's fair to say those are two that you follow. All right. Do you ever, for any of these cases we've talked about, do you ever kind of go a little bit beyond reading what's in the newspaper, maybe get online and see what you can find out? No, never done that? Okay, and aside from stories about children, you indicated that you believe you may have heard PSAs or public safety announcements regarding reminding people not to leave or forget an animal in a car. Does anything particular come to mind?
I worked as a groomer at Princeton.
Oh, okay. So that would have been something you were kind of aware of, right? Did you ever see anything on social media in that regard? Any public service announcements that were actually on Facebook or some other medium?
Yeah, for the pets, you would see that. You'd see it a lot during the summer.
A lot during the summer, because it's hot. Did you ever see any that were in the form of a video as opposed to an article or just a post?
Just a post.
Okay. And I take it from your response and sort of the timing, talking about being a groomer, this is something, these sort of announcements you hear regularly once it starts to get hot each summer? Okay. You told us yesterday that before purchasing a car seat that you'd done some research. And this would have been some years ago. Did you? Why would you have researched a car seat?
Well, particularly when you have your first baby, then you're a paranoid parent. So.
Yeah.
At that time, I had parent. I didn't even have internet. So I had parenting, and then you would get like I believe it was called Baby Talk or something like that. It was free from the hospital.
Okay. Called what now?
I think it was called Baby Talk or something. It was a real thin pamphlet magazine.
Okay.
And that would always have like the latest car seats and numerous things that would tell you all the latest recalls. I mean, I did prefer a brand.
You did not prefer.
I preferred a brand.
Oh, there was a particular brand you were looking for. All right. And was it because that brand was the cheapest?
It was one of the best.
Was one of the safest?
Safest and just overall.
High quality?
Yeah.
Question. I think Mr. Boring asked you about this. Let's see, you had, I think currently you said your children were 16, 15, and 9? Okay. And at least one of them apparently was of the kind of child that fell asleep pretty quickly when you put her in the car seat? Oh, all three. All right. Well, I'll ask you the same question. Did y'all ever get in a situation where you actually put your child or children in a car seat to get them to go to sleep?
Because it would take them out of routine.
Did you have one of those, particularly when they were younger? Did you have one of those that like had a base and you could take the whole unit out as a carrier?
The base thing in the seat?
Right. So you had one of those. All right. Did y'all ever take your child out and into a restaurant and try to have a meal while the child was still in that base or still in that basket?
Yes.
Okay. Did it work for you?
It worked. Put them right down in the seat.
We never ate a meal together for 2 years in my house.
Well, it went well until they were up to 6 months old. Before that, that's all it is.
Right. All right. I think I've just got one or two things to follow up. You did respond affirmatively when we asked if you had any family or friends or coworkers who had an affair. Is that something you can tell us about?
It's actually in the courts right now, so I don't know if I
Okay. Why don't we just talk about that privately then? Okay. Good luck with your story.
All right. Juror 10. Okay, you're probably going to find out that it kind of coincides with how the speed of our questions, the closer it gets to lunch, as our stomachs start rumbling and stuff. So that's good for the three of y'all. All right, Juror 10, you work with, is it Nutritional Systems? Is that the name of the business, or is that the field? Okay. Is it the Brunswick Hospital? Okay. Looking at some of the stuff that you answered, well, first of all, have you always worked in that field in nutritional systems and things like that? What's Gateway?
It's a behavioral health.
Okay. And behavioral health, tell me a little about that, like this.
Actually worked at one of the houses here. This is where people with mental disabilities.
Okay.
So like cook for them and help them just assist them with the daily living activities that we do on a daily basis.
Okay. How long did you do that? Okay. And when you answered the question we're asking, have you ever had the opportunity to take care of somebody sick or disabled? Is that what you were talking about? All right, so we knocked another question out right there. All right, you've got family or friends or somebody you know in law enforcement? Okay, tell me about that.
My dad, he was a police officer. You know, I had my mom, she worked in the courthouse. I'm not exactly sure what she did.
Here or up north?
Up north.
Okay. Okay.
I have some cousins that are police officers all up north.
Okay. And where up north?
In Baltimore, New Jersey.
Okay. Okay, with military, tell me about that, having friends or family military. Okay.
I was in the military. My sister was in the Army. I had cousins that's in the Air Force, some that's in the Marines. And there's one that's in the Army also.
Okay. So as a kid, I take it you were moving around a bit? Okay. All right, you say that you've known somebody that's got some kind of legal training or some involvement with the legal field or something like that. Do you remember raising your hand to that? Okay, what is your experience with that?
That was my mom. I know she has a bachelor's in criminal justice, and then she went back to school for, I'm not exactly sure what she actually got, but she has one in psychology and then a minor in sociology.
Okay. So when you answer that question about knowing somebody with psychology, is that all right, mark that one off. Anybody else that you know regarding being involved in psychology or sociology? You've known somebody that works in the medical field, aside from you, anybody else?
I have an auntie, she's a registered nurse.
Okay. All right. Asked about all the social media, you know about Facebook and Instagram and that stuff. Craigslist, how do you use Craigslist?
I go on there since I've moved a lot, I still tend to move a lot.
Uh-huh.
I go on there to look for jobs in different areas. I go on there to look at different houses, see what they're selling.
All right. And do you use YouTube like most everybody else?
Yeah, for the music and then my kids, I'm always looking at Frozen stuff.
Looking at what?
Frozen, Elsa,
Oh, they ask what? I got a 9-month-old, and it's Mickey Mouse Clubhouse.
Right.
I mean, I start whistling it, and he's like, "Oh, all right, I'm on." Not that crazy right now. And then, anyway, all right. Kick. How are you familiar with Kick?
I have a kid. I mainly got it because of my niece. She has it, and that's how me and her talk, and then also my son communicated with her like that also.
Okay. And how old is your son? That son? I mean, you've got 3 kids, right? Okay. How old is that son?
10.
All right. And your niece, how old is she? The one who uses Kick? 12. Okay. All right. I believe you stated you're familiar. You've heard of Backpage?
Yeah.
Okay. And what do you know about that?
I just heard of it. I've never actually pulled it up to look at the website, but I have heard of it.
Okay. Now, you stated that you've written an online opinion about something before. Tell me about that. Is it like other people talking about posting stuff on Facebook, or have you done something more like I saw something in the Brunswick News and I wrote an opinion on it or something?
I was just commenting on something that I've seen on Facebook or
Some other social media stuff? Okay. All right. I believe you stated that you do watch legal TV shows, some fiction and nonfiction. Tell me about what particularly you like to watch, or whether you like it or not. Maybe your kids watch some of them and you get stuck watching it. But tell me about what do you like to watch?
I like to watch Criminal Minds. That's my favorite show, actually.
Criminal Minds. Okay. Yeah.
And then I watch First 48, Law and Order. I used to be in the CSI, but it's changed so much, so I'm not really into it.
Get a little far-fetched.
Right.
Yeah, it's almost like it's like outer space. Yeah. All right. You stated that you've followed a real trial before, correct? Or been interested in something. Tell me about that.
Okay, so I followed the Georgia Brown case. And also, I remember my mom watching the OJ trial.
Yeah.
And just seeing bits and pieces of it.
Yeah, because you've been pretty young back when that happened, but old enough to watch it, but, Right, okay. Let's see. In the past, you've had a job working for Pay with Children.
Yeah.
And which job was that?
I worked at the last CA as a teacher.
Okay. And did you work with a particular age group?
I was a floater, so I did
Every-
pretty much all the rooms wherever I was seated at. I was able to sub.
Okay. Okay. And you've obviously had 3 kids. You've had to transport children to daycare before. Was that your own children or somebody else?
No.
Okay. And same question about asleep in a car seat. Your kids go to sleep in a car seat? And about what age did they start, like, not just falling straight asleep? Was it something when they were much younger, or?
The only one that doesn't fall asleep to this day is my oldest one that's 10 years old. They still, my two youngest ones, they still fall asleep.
They get in the car and they just fall asleep in the car? All right. You stated that you've, well, let's see. Oh, you're familiar with you've heard something about the Look Again campaign, things like that?
I'm not familiar with the Look Again campaign.
Okay.
I think I misunderstood you, but I haven't seen the articles that I've heard on the radio.
Okay, like telling you need to pay attention, stuff like that? Now, I believe you stated that somebody you know has been arrested before. Okay, tell me about that. Okay. Are you okay talking about it?
It was just for traffic tickets and things up here.
Okay, all right, well, I think we'll be okay with that. Okay, was it like speeding and stuff, or?
Yes.
Okay,
Speeding, and then also it was failure to stop at a stop.
okay. You said the failure to appear, is that something where you got the ticket and forgot about it? And
No, it was just the officer knew me and knew my car, and he pulled me over and took me.
Oh, okay. I got you. All right. And when you said you got a you contested a ticket before. Okay, which one was that?
Speeding ticket, normally don't ever pay at first. I'll come to court and see
Yeah.
what happened first.
Right. See if the officer actually shows up. Right. Okay. You know you know how to do it. Right. Okay. And I think you said you've been in you're familiar with the Hyundai Tucson. Let me make sure I get that right. What's that?
My mom has
Okay. All right. And ma'am, I think that's all I have for you right now. Thank you.
Good morning. All right, a few things Mr. Bourne asked you about I'm going to follow up on real quick. Your favorite show is Criminal Minds, and you're real clear about that. That's your favorite show. All right, what about Criminal Minds makes it your favorite show?
I think it was made now, in the line, but one of the glasses, I love him. I just love the way he's just so insulting.
Which one?
The one with the glasses, I can't remember his name. Reed, yes, Reed. I'm gonna remember the name.
All right, so it's nothing about the stories. You just got a crush on one of the characters.
I don't have a crush. I just like him. I just like how he's just so knowledgeable. How he just moves.
How he goes about doing his
How he goes
business.
about his job.
Okay. All right. You indicated that you had been arrested. You said traffic ticket and an FTA. I just want to make sure I understand what you're talking about. Did you get a ticket for speeding or something like that, and then subsequently you just failed to go to court on it?
Right, I didn't know my court date, so they issued me out a bench warrant. So, right, that had just, it was in Huntsville. I had just moved to Huntsville, and it's different from up north how they go about within court. You have to call the number up there, you have the date, the court date on your ticket. So I never called to see, and then when I did call to see what was going on with it, it was too late, and I had a bench warrant.
Okay. And this was in Hinesville.
Yes.
All right. And so when you did call, they told you bad news.
Right.
There's a warrant out for your arrest. So what'd you do?
And then later that day, it was just a bad day. But then the officer saw me, and he pulled me over. And took me to
All right. So the same day that you called, you ended up getting pulled over? That was okay. All right. And unfortunately, he just didn't have any discretion because there was a warrant, so he had to take you into custody. All right. And then you took care of you had to bond out and then take care of the ticket. All right. I think we can work with you. All right. I want to clarify also, you indicated you had either heard or read some articles about looking again, or I wasn't real clear exactly what you said there.
I don't know about the campaign looking again.
Yeah.
I don't know what that is. I've never heard of it. But I do remember seeing like an article and hearing on the radio about not taking the kids or animals or any pets.
All right, when do you think you would have heard this?
In the summer.
Okay.
Maybe I work at Sunny's and I used to hear it on the radio all the time. That Sunny's on the radio station.
Okay. What, Sonny's barbecue?
Barbecue, yes.
Okay. And what would you hear on the radio?
Just that it's hot outside. Just like a little reminder not to make sure you look in the back seat.
Sorry, make sure you look in the back seat.
But just make sure you all your kids and
Okay. But you had already, even though hearing it on the radio, you'd already heard about it from some other means, is what you're telling us. Some other article that you'd read or that you'd seen.
posting on Facebook.
Oh, Facebook?
Right.
Okay. Did you ever respond to any of those posts?
I like that, but I don't think I've actually like commented on it or anything.
Okay. All right. Oh, you worked at a daycare. When did you work at a daycare?
I was in high school. So it might have been like in 98.
Okay.
99. Might have been 79, I don't know exactly.
Okay. No, that helps me because it was it would have been a part-time job while you were in school.
Right.
Okay. All right. All right. Thank you. All right. So you've answered that. All right. I asked if either you or your spouse ever had to hire an attorney. I don't think we've talked about that yet. I don't think Mr. Boyne asked you about that. Is that something you can tell us about?
I had hired an attorney for my boyfriend at the time.
Okay. What was that all about?
He had got, he was in jail for some criminal charges, and I hired him, was hired looking for an attorney for him. We were looking at the court.
Okay. How long ago was this?
That was 2004, 2006, I'm not exactly sure.
Okay. So was this the father of your 10-year-old?
Yes.
Right. And was that here in this area? It was in Hinesville. All right. So was he in the military? All right. Do you recall, or is it something you can share what he was charged with that you had to hire a lawyer for?
He had purchased a gun from somebody and it wasn't registered and it ended up being stolen. And he had some drugs.
So it was gun and drug charges.
Yeah.
What ended up happening?
He went to jail, he had a 10-year sentence. And he only had to do 5 years in jail and then 5 years.
Okay. All right, so that's the only time you've had to hire a lawyer for somebody.
Yeah.
Okay. All right, thank you for that. And I don't remember if Mr. Boyne followed up on this or not, but when we asked if you knew anybody who, a family, a friend, or coworker who'd had an affair, you indicated that you had. Is that something you tell us about? Okay. Well, that's what we hope all of your answers are honest. But is there somebody that's particularly close to you?
My mom said my dad before,
Okay. Which is usually not good. Okay. But are you still, is your mom or auntie still in life? Are they still alive?
Yes.
All right. Are you still friendly or close with them? And do you mind if I ask you if you're single at this time, but have you ever been married? Okay. Would you mind if I asked you if anyone has ever like cheated on you? In high school. Okay. I think that still counts, but that again, that was back in the day. Okay. All right. I appreciate you answering some personal questions. But thank you for that.
Good morning, almost afternoon. Good morning. Okay, so you are retired and you did some work as a legal secretary in Los Angeles, correct?
That is correct, but may I
Yes, ma'am, you may.
offer some information
Absolutely.
that may have an impact
Okay.
on how much in depth you want to go in your follow-up questions.
Okay.
On September 26th, I have cataract surgery. On the 27th, I have post-op procedures. Then the next eye will be operated on October 10th with follow-up procedures on the 11th. I did not ask for a hardship when I, checked in because I had no idea the magnitude of this case. So yesterday I did speak to a bailiff twice, and they said I would be able to address the court. And so I just wanted to address that issue. I'm willing to serve, but I still am going to miss 4 days.
Okay.
Okay, so now,
All right.
now I will answer your questions.
All right.
I'm sorry, would you tell me those dates? You've got cataract surgery on, what's it,
September 26th.
9/26 for one
And then
eye.
follow up on 27th, and the second eye is October 10th, follow up on October 11th.
October, what was the October date?
Pardon me?
What was the first October date? October 10 and 11?
Yes.
Are the follow-up dates full days or just partial days?
Partially.
And Your Honor, I think we'll hold with her until we get to individual, if that's okay with you.
That's fine.
Okay, thank you. All right, so we may talk to you a little bit later when we get to individually
I
speaking
was
with you.
glad I was able to save you time.
Yeah. Well, I would say yes, we all try to be efficient, but sometimes it may not look like it. So, all right, so juror number 12. All right, what do I do with my glasses?
Maybe you need cataract surgery.
I need a lot of work done. All right, so you work as a trail guide, okay, and how long have you been doing that?
I've been there for 2 years.
Okay.
And I'm also the camp director for camps during the summer, spring break, and we have a winter break camp.
Okay. All right. So you've stated that you know somebody in the court system.
That was false. I was wrong about that. I didn't hear the question correctly.
Okay.
I was talking about someone generally in the courthouse.
Okay. Well, it's not necessarily false. You were mistaken. So yeah, that's a big difference there. So okay. So basically, you were mistaken about the question. So okay. You know somebody in law enforcement?
Yes, I have a close friend that's a police officer here in Glenn County, and I don't know what he is to me. My mom's cousin was either chief or sheriff of Glenn County.
Okay.
One of the two.
Yeah. What was his last name? Well, we
You
could.
would have asked me that.
I know. About how long ago it was. We can talk to some people around here to try to figure it out. Okay.
I'll remember it in a little while.
All right. If it comes to mind, just let me know, okay? I believe you stated that you're active in a church here.
Yes, I'm a member of Heinrich Baptist Church.
Bless you. And you're obviously one of the younger jurors, so you are familiar with using applications on cell phones other than texting. What do you use?
The only other messenger app I use is Facebook.
Mm-hmm.
But I do use Instagram, Snapchat.
Okay. All right. And you've used Craigslist before?
Yes. I ride horses personally, so I look up horses on there, pack things. I've sold stuff on Craigslist.
Mm-hmm.
So,
Now, Twitter, do you post stuff on there a lot, or you just kind of follow it?
I'm on there every day.
Okay. And how about Kick? How are you familiar with that?
Back in high school, I downloaded it because everybody was talking about it. I downloaded it, looked at it, and then deleted it.
Okay. And why did you delete it?
It just wasn't something I was interested in. I never used it or anything like that.
Okay, this is something that I guess when you were a teenager, people used it. Okay. All right. You also have heard of Whisper or used Whisper? Have you ever used Whisper? Or?
I've downloaded Whisper. When I was in high school, it's everybody talked about it. I didn't really get the concept of it, so I deleted it.
Okay. So kind of the same thing as Kick. It was something in high school the kids were using. Okay. Now, the topic of just social media and the online world, you said you've actually messaged or talked back and forth with somebody that you've never met in person.
It's mainly just buying things offline because I follow the different groups on Facebook, like Golden Hours Online, Yard Sale, things like that.
Okay.
So,
All right. And you've given online opinions before. Is that something different than what we've heard a lot of, or is it mainly the same social media, Facebook?
mainly social media type things.
Okay. You at least watched some legal TV shows or something like that. What do you watch?
The main TV show I watch is CSI Miami, and then I also watch Criminal Minds. But those are about the only two that I watch.
Okay. Now, you have volunteered with kids?
My job with kids, teaching them horseback riding lessons and things like that.
I believe you stated you've known somebody who's been arrested before?
Yes, my boyfriend has been arrested.
Okay. I'm not going to ask too many questions. Generally, what type of offense?
He was arrested for drag racing.
For drag racing?
Drag racing.
People still do that? Yes, sir.
This was before I know, so probably 6-7 years ago.
Okay. All right. You've been a witness in a case before?
Yes, it was a school incident. And our old brother Kyle, we had a gravel parking lot with rocks. And a boy pulled into it and floored it and slung rocks up on another vehicle and busted this girl's window out.
Oh, wow.
So I was a witness to that. So I actually I made a statement for the police and then had to come in to be a witness.
Oh, okay. You've had to do a report to the police before. Is that the same thing? I believe you stated that you've heard something, one of these commercials or something like that about not leaving children in the car or something of that nature.
Yes, over the summer, I went to work. I heard a broadcast about, hey, it's going to be 98 degrees today. It takes only a couple of seconds for a car to heat up. Please check, make sure you don't have a child.
All right, and I believe finally you stated that you've known somebody who's been investigated for child abuse before or something like that, or you know of an investigation.
Yes.
Okay.
It was false. My aunt, her neighbors called, said that she called DFAX. DFAX came, nothing was ever engaged after that. It was just a false report given to DFAX on her.
Were they saying she just wasn't taking care of her kids or something? Then DFAX shows up and everything's fine. Do you have any idea what the motivation of this neighbor was, or?
Well, the neighborhood that she lives in, there are a bunch of kids that live in there, a bunch of young teenagers, and there was, they were going around smashing mailboxes in the neighborhood. And my aunt has 3 kids, and she believed, I guess the neighbors thought it might have been her kids, which it wasn't.
Right.
I guess they didn't think she was properly handling them.
Okay. All right. That's all the questions I have right now. Thank you.
Good morning, Ms. N. All right, so you have, I've been doing this a long time, and you've definitely got one of the coolest jobs that we've heard about. You're young, so I'm assuming you kind of got into this almost right out of school?
I got into it my senior year.
Okay.
High school, so,
Did you grow up here?
yes, I grew up and was raised here in Brunswick.
Okay. All right, and so if I understand correctly, you kind of wear a lot of hats in what you do. You're responsible for the camps that are run by your, and what is the name of the sort of the business?
It's, our farm is called 3 Oaks Farm.
Say again.
3 Oaks Farm.
This is free advertising for you, by the way. 3 Oaks Farm, everyone.
And then on Jekyll Island, which is where our carriage tours and trail rides go, our business over there is called Golden Isles Carriage and Trail.
Okay. And is this a family-run business?
They're family run.
Okay. Golden Isles Carriage,
Yes.
All right.
Isles Carriage and Trail.
and you work at the 3 Oaks Farm location primarily?
No, well, it's 50-50.
Okay.
I do trail rides a lot during the summer and the camps. We don't have very many people that work with us. There's only about 12 of us. So we all alternate throughout the weeks.
And what kind of, who are your customers? Are these vacationers to the Golden Isles primarily?
They're mainly vacationers, yes.
Right. And then during the times of year when you would actually have camps, do you have children that come from all over the state or all over the South?
We have people, because we can just do the day camp, or we have it all week long, and a bunch of people that come and visit, they'll drop their kids off for the day, and then go enjoy their vacation time, and then pick them up back in the afternoon.
Okay. So it's definitely geared toward children.
Yes.
All right. And what age range are we talking about?
Our youngest, as long as they're potty trained, we'll take them. Our youngest this year was 4 years old.
Okay. And so the parents, you said the parents just can go enjoy their day, and y'all have the kids throughout the day, and they can do horseback riding or...
Yep, we do horseback riding, arts and crafts, swimming time. They learn about the horses, how to take care of horses.
Okay. Do any of the parents ever stay and hang out and watch the horseback riding and watch all the activities?
Yes, we have some parents that'll stay back and watch for the riding time, and then they'll leave after that. But yeah.
Okay. And do local families take advantage of your camp as well?
Yes.
Okay. So it's not just vacationers and out-of-towners?
No. It's locals. We have a group of kids that come down every summer since I've worked there. They're from Virginia. Come down every summer. Their parents have a boat. They bring to the camp for the week, and during the day they go and enjoy themselves and do whatever.
I take it you probably went to camp as a child?
Well, I grew up riding horses. My aunt has horses, so I grew up riding them with her. So.
Okay. And is this something you think that you're going to build on and stick with, this type of work?
Actually, I'm going to school for radiology.
Okay.
So, horses will always be a part of life. I always have horses, but that's not the career I'm going into.
All right. I think we missed the school part. Are you in school now?
No, not this semester. I switched my major this semester, and once I switched it, my classes were already taken up, so I had to skip a semester.
All right. And where are you going to school?
Here at the Coastal College.
Okay. All right. Thank you. We asked if anybody had heard anything about the case on television, radio, or the newspaper, social media since the first day you came in. And you indicated that you'd heard something.
Yes.
What was that?
My girlfriend's mother is a big news freak, and she actually was talking about it.
Okay.
She said the stuff that she heard on the news, she told to me.
All right, she was sharing something with you that she had heard?
Yes.
All right. You know what? We're going to ask you about those specifics in a few minutes, okay? But I wanted to make sure that I understood that you had answered affirmatively to that question. All right, just a couple of other things. I think you've covered. Yeah. You also answered in the affirmative that you had family, or you knew family, friends, or coworkers who'd had an affair. Is that somebody you can tell us about? Something you mentioned?
It's one of my best friends. Her dad had an affair with her mom, on her mom.
Okay.
Another one of my friends' moms, actually.
Is this something recent?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. All right, so it's still sort of working itself out then right now. Okay. And your friend talked to you about it? Okay. I think that's all I need from you right now. Thank you.
Let's have council vote. Mr. Sharon, why don't you come up? Ladies and gentlemen, I'm going to excuse you for lunch. Come back to the jury assembly room at 2 o'clock. Keep an open mind. Don't discuss this matter with each other. Yes, this is sign language and talking. I talk with my hands. Don't talk to others. Don't let others talk to you about the case. No contact attorneys, parties, or witnesses to the case. And don't let yourself be exposed in any way to anything to do with this case in terms of media, anything electronic, anything of exploratory nature, books or computers or anything of that nature. And whatever I didn't think of that y'all might think of, y'all don't do that. Okay, y'all go have a good lunch.
Let's all rise for the jury, please.
talk about Rule 6.
Be seated, please.
Mr. Bourne?
Yes, Your Honor. We had received some information, I believe it was this morning or last night, handed to defense counsel. Actually, it was last night. A copy of it was a cover sheet from a microfiche cover sheet of the sentencing document for juror number 6. And it appeared from looking at it, this was back when you had, my understanding was the sentence sheet back then, it was a different sheet that you would use if it was a first offender probation. This was from 1989. I would note that his GCIC shows numerous convictions even leading up to that day. It did not reflect that he was a first offender whatsoever. We did get the rest of the sheets here while we were in the middle of jury selection, showing that to defense counsel now. And again, there is no evidence whatsoever that he was even granted first offender, much less was discharged. I would state, and we'll tender the GCIC when time comes as well, that he had subsequent arrests that would have been probation violations that would have been subject to adjudicating him guilty as a first offender if he'd actually been on first offender. But there is nothing reflected in the GCIC whatsoever in that regard. So I believe that the evidence we have right now is that he is a convicted felon per the records from Gwinnett County Superior Court. In addition, I would just add, Judge, that I think looking at the totality of this as well, this is the same juror who was 20 minutes late yesterday, the same juror who was noticed to have had an odor of marijuana about him possibly coming back into jail, into the jail, that was a little premature, into the courthouse. Additionally, you may have noticed, I would have to estimate from the time I looked at him this morning, he was sleeping for approximately 60 or 70% of the time we were in here. So, Your Honor, at this point, I think the record is clear. I think we've perfected the record. I will admit that after the defense counsel's finished reviewing it, I spoke with Mr. Kilgore about this morning. He acknowledged that at the time it did look like this looks like a felony conviction, and they have had the GCIC to review it for quite a time.
So, what specifically, in terms of a motion, are you?
I'm sorry, Judge. Specifically, I would ask for a motion to strike him for cause. I don't believe he's qualified to serve as a juror, as he is a convicted felon based on the evidence that we now have.
Who says the defense?
We'll let you take a look at this, Judge. We don't have a position right now.
When do you anticipate having a position?
If we get the entire file, I don't know what documents might be located in that file.
Judge, this is the file that we started with about earlier. This is all that they have regarding sentencing in the Gwinnett County Clerk's Office, Superior Court Clerk's Office file. So, regarding sentencing, my understanding this is all they can give us from a 1989 conviction.
Let's mark them as exhibits, please.
Okay. Mark this as state's exhibit for going to be J1 for jury selection.
I think so. I think that's a good idea.
Your Honor, I would tender at this time relevant to juror number 6, Mr. Stephen Golden.
How much front-time liberty?
SG.
Yes. Are you also? Do you have the GCIC?
Yes,
list
Judge.
too? I think that needs to be part of the record. And the defense has had an opportunity to review this. Would that be fair to say?
Yes, Judge. They've actually had these GCICs for these 36 since yesterday.
Yeah, I wanted to hear what they had to say.
Yes. Yes, ma'am. Yes. marked for identification purposes as State's Exhibit J2. I'm sure this is all made, so copy and certified.
Is there anything on here that indicates first offender treatment?
No, Your Honor, there's nothing.
I don't see it.
Your Honor, here is a copy of what are marked for identification purposes of State's Exhibit J2, which is his criminal history GCIC that was run. And additionally, it does not reflect anything regarding any type of first offender treatment, which if a defendant is treated as a first offender, even though we can see it, that is reflected on GCIC.
Mm-hmm. All right. Has the defense had adequate opportunity to review these documents?
I looked at it.
Mr. Kilgore, you have?
Yes, ma'am.
And you stand by your position, you just don't care to...
No, it's the state's burden if they prove to the court's satisfaction, and I mean, it's their burden. We're not going to take a position one way or the other. I haven't seen the entire file, so I don't have a position.
Well, I've got a conviction, and there's nothing on here at all about first offender treatment. So that's a felony conviction. And then...
It's not certified, but I understand logistically,
And Judge, we will
several hours away right now, so
We will get a certified copy to supplement the record as well.
what do they scan and send it to you?
They did. They pulled it as well, scanned and emailed a copy of this. And so they actually asked in the email if we needed a certified copy to perfect the record. And the person who helped us is Merrick Coward, who used to work in our office. He's now over in Gwinnett County.
Is it?
Yes, ma'am.
That's good to hear. Let me look at the GCIC. I've got the conviction. Yep. Nope, there's nothing to indicate first offender. There's a conviction, assuming you supplement this with a certified copy. So. And then you've got a subsequent misdemeanor conviction that certainly, if there had been first offender. And a VOP too. I'm going to grant the state's motion contingent upon receiving the certified copy. So we won't need to talk to Juror 6, and he can be excused. Go find himself a nap somewhere. All right, can we bring in juror number 1? And his questions specifically, are you going to handle also talking to juror 6, Mr. Shannon?
Yes, I will.
Okay, if we can
He'll be
have,
back at 2:11.
that's perfect. So let's get juror 1 in here and get that going.
They're right outside.
And the topics for juror 1 are the answer to question 1, media exposure, and then anything else you all had identified. And we'll go till approximately, we'll finish this person. That's probably going to be it. Come on in, please, sir. And you can take any seat on the front row that you feel comfortable in. As far away from them as you can get, I I'm sorry, I didn't mean to tease you. I couldn't help it. We've got some follow-up questions for you. Counsel for the state and counsel for the defendant can proceed.
Thank you, Your Honor. Welcome back, Juror 1. We've got a couple of just follow-up questions. I guess you kind of figured out we're going to talk about a couple of them individually. First of all, when the judge initially asked those 3 questions, I guess they're called statutory questions, you raised your hand about one, whether you had formed and expressed an opinion as to the guilt or innocence of the defendant in this case.
I understand, but the only thing I remember was that I formed.
Okay. Okay, have you actually expressed that opinion to anybody?
Not here.
Okay. Have you expressed that opinion to anyone else, like a spouse or anything like that?
Before you decided to come down here, yes.
Okay. Before you knew it was coming here?
Yeah.
Okay. Now, let me ask you that. Let me ask you about that opinion. As we talked about earlier, nobody comes into these situations, without, especially if they've heard stuff about cases. We can't require a jury to have never heard anything about it. And you may have actually formed some opinions just based on stuff you've heard in the media. What the question is if you can take anything that you thought you knew about the case or any opinions that you formed, and if you're selected as a juror, put that aside. And if selected, just render a verdict based upon the evidence that comes out in this courtroom and the law that the judge gives you. Would you be able to do that?
Yes.
Okay. Just a little bit about the other issue is that you have heard about it in the media at some point. When is it you remember hearing about it in the media? Back years ago, a couple years ago when it happened? Or?
Yeah, yesterday I told you I watched Fox News. I watched the TV so down from Jacksonville.
Okay.
Sometime down on my there. So I don't specifically remember the first time I heard that.
And do you remember exactly what you heard about the case? What do you think you know about it?
That there was a child that died in somebody's backseat.
Okay. Do you remember anything else about the circumstances, what the defendant was allegedly doing that day, or any other evidence in the case?
No.
Okay. So the opinion that you formed, do you even remember what it was based on, like all the facts and things like that, or was it simply based on the fact you heard somebody left a job tomorrow?
That was my opinion on it.
Okay. All right.
So based on any big facts.
Right. And as you sit here today, not knowing you would be able to listen and render a verdict just based on the evidence in here and the law the judge gives you. As that's what you stated earlier. Okay. All right. That's all I have, Judge.
Mr. Gilbert.
When you answered yes to the judge's question, if you'd formed an opinion, what was that opinion that you formed?
The defendant is not innocent.
That he's not innocent. Okay. Is that, and you understand that to be the same thing as guilty?
No. They say he was guilty.
Say again.
I have no idea what he did. So my opinion is he probably did something, so it can't be used.
Your opinion is he probably did something, so he's not innocent.
Based on the long list of charges y'all had with him, I think my estimate's probably correct.
Okay. In your, when did you form this opinion that he's not innocent?
I couldn't tell you. I mean, I don't remember.
All right. Was it before this week, though?
For this week? Yes.
Okay. And was that opinion based on stuff that you had heard on either through the media or that perhaps someone else shared with you or told you? Through the media. And best of your recollection, what source did you hear or obtain information through the media?
I can't tell you which one, because the local sources I just gave you is typical of what I listened to. I can't tell you specifically where I was when I heard that, and then I decided to.
Okay. All right, so let's break it down this way then. You've mentioned Fox station. So what I want to know is the information you received, was that from something you heard and saw on the television? Was it something that you heard on the radio? Was it something you read in print media, such as the newspaper, or was it something that you heard or read through social media on the internet?
As I stated earlier, I can't specifically tell you when I got the opinions I had and where it came from. To be honest with you, I wouldn't pay that much attention.
Okay. And you indicated the information that you recall was that you heard a child died in someone's back seat.
Yes.
All right. What other facts other than that do you recall?
They worked at Home Depot.
Okay. What else? All right. So, to the best of your recollection, what you walked into the courtroom, exposure-wise, what you had heard through some source, media source, was that a child died in someone's back seat and that he worked at Home Depot, he being the person who was charged.
Correct.
All right. Did you know what relationship the person who worked at Home Depot was to the child who died?
No, I did not have any knowledge of their relationship. I could guess. Didn't ask me to guess.
So whatever sources you heard from did not disclose whatever relationship, if any.
Not that I recall.
Okay. Then, in addition to that limited amount of information, a child died, somebody worked at Home Depot. Were you exposed to any images on the television that you can recall, actually seeing anything?
No.
All right.
The only thing I saw on TV was the news person's face.
Okay. So you didn't see a scene or an image of the child or an image of the person arrested?
No.
Okay. And then you came into the courtroom and you heard that he was charged with murder and related charges, right?
Correct.
Do you remember how many counts there were that the judge read?
No. What I would consider a large number.
Large number. And but at that time, you had already formed your opinion.
Correct.
Okay. So to suggest that hearing a large number of charges was the basis of your opinion, that would not be accurate if you already came into the courtroom with the opinion.
You're correct.
Okay. And hearing that there were a large number of charges, would it be fair to say that maybe solidified your opinion?
Yes.
Not really having any, that much knowledge of the Jacksonville market or Savannah market or whatever, Brunswick, whatever media y'all get. We don't have a very good idea of when certain stories ran. Is it possible that the exposure that you had to this information you talked about was back 2 years ago when the case first happened?
I can't tell you when I first heard about it. I don't know if it's been 2 years. It could have been.
Would it be fair to say that you've had your opinion more than a year?
I'll answer yes.
Okay. And after hearing the charges, anything else you've heard in the courtroom the last 2 days, certainly nothing has changed your opinion that he's not innocent.
That's correct.
Okay. Now, if the judge were to tell you, if you got on this jury and the judge were to tell you that, you were supposed to presume that he is innocent when the trial starts,
In as much as you've already formed an opinion, would you be able to do that?
Yes.
You would be able to presume that he's innocent?
No.
You would?
This testimony, and my decision, and I'm not going to- it doesn't change my original thoughts about
Does not change your original thoughts? Okay. All right. So, and I don't want to put words in your mouth, but are you saying that at the beginning of the trial you would not be able to presume that he was innocent?
Well, the judge has asked already, I think if we could form, we should ask the Secretary, could we form an opinion based on the evidence we heard? And the answer to that would be yes.
Okay. So what you're telling us is then that
I can make up my mind based on the testimony given
okay.
at the trial.
Okay, I asked you a question yesterday that I asked to the big group, and that question was, have you formed or expressed an opinion? Well, actually, you know what, before I move on to this, you told us that you expressed an opinion, I think, to your wife regarding what you're just telling us about, that you don't believe that he's innocent. Do you know when you expressed that opinion to her?
Not specifically, but it was before you came to town.
Before we came to town.
Well, they sent me a summons to be a jury or something.
Okay. It's just something that
In passing conversation.
okay. Y'all talked about it, and you told her what your thoughts were.
Not a conversation in the room.
Okay.
I just told her how I felt about it.
Do you remember what you told her? What'd you tell her?
I'm sorry, what?
What'd you tell her?
That he was not innocent.
And when you say not innocent, you mean not innocent of the crimes charged?
I didn't know anything about what the charges were at the time I had a discussion with him.
You told us yesterday, we asked yesterday if you formed or expressed an opinion concerning whether or not a child can be forgotten in a car. You indicated that you had formed or expressed an opinion to that. Do you recall that question?
Not specifically, but I answered it again.
Okay.
I have formed an opinion.
You have an opinion? What is that opinion?
I'm going to object to this point, Judge. So that's what I believe when that question was asked. I do have an objection. Maybe we can take it up at the bench or outside the presence of the jury.
Okay, but the question is an and, not an or question.
Yeah, he's asking what this juror's opinion is about people leaving children in the car. And I do object to that question. May we approach from that, Judge?
Yes.